Howdy, I hope you're having a good day. Silver Trade here again with another video. Institutions almost own 40% of GameStop. They have been piling in, especially in this last week. Recently, GameStop did a $1.3 billion private offering of convertible senior notes for 2030 at 0% interest, and they intend to use this money for general purposes, including maybe the acquisition of Bitcoin. If you're curious to see it for yourself, go to the SEC EDGAR website, scroll down. They announced this in their March 10K filing right here. There's a ton to read, so you press Control F, type in Bitcoin, and they do a lot of talking on how they might buy and then they might sell Bitcoin. Similar to what Tesla did back in 2021, which turned out to be a great move. To see the bonds, I use TradingView. Just type in GME, go to bonds right here. And even though these bonds only pay out 0% interest, they are still trading for over 120%. The fact that someone is buying these bonds for 120% is unusual and very bullish. Whoever's buying these is paying a 20% premium, meaning investors are willing to pay more than the bond's face value. For a person to buy these at 120%, they have to expect GameStop to go well above 20% from where it's at right now. They're essentially saying, we don't care about interest, we just want exposure to future GME stock gains. Problem is, these convertible bonds can be converted to stock and dilute GameStop slightly whenever the bondholders want to. The no interest on the bonds and the high demand for them implies strong institutional belief in GameStop's future growth or strategic moves. Maybe announcing the Bitcoin pivot. This doesn't happen unless equity upside is highly anticipated. And please remember, none of this is financial advice and we are not financial advisors, and this video is made for entertainment purposes only, but this is a bullish signal. And a lot of people think the bond market is much larger than the stock market, but the bond market is about $55 trillion and the US stock market is about $44 trillion. So they're a lot closer than people think. Maybe these bondholders and institutions see something that we don't. All of these institutions bought in very recently. Maybe they sold off a little bit, but they bought in within the last month. Morgan Stanley, Royal Bank of Canada, Corebridge Financial, Commerce Bank, MetLife Investment, Jump Financial LLC, Banco Bilbao something, Marathon Trading, America's Century, Algert Global, Nuveen LLC, Invesco Ltd, Swiss National Bank. Banks have been piling in May. As of May 2025, institutional investors collectively hold about 151 million shares of GameStop, representing about 38% of the company's total outstanding shares. Insiders hold about 10.5% of shares, and people who have DRS their shares own about 15.5%, for a grand total of about 64% of GameStop is held on paper, or about 270 million. We're not going to get too much into this, but the Ichimoku cloud is a very powerful and forward-looking indicator. On the daily, it broke out of the cloud, retested, and is continuing upward. But whenever you look at the weekly and go back to 2020, once GameStop got above the cloud, that's when it really started to do its thing. Did all of its craziness for a while, but then very quickly came back below that cloud. And it's been stuck under that cloud for a very long time. Until April and May of last year, where it came up, broke through the cloud, and had an explosive shot up to, y'all remember it, about $80 per share. Then GameStop fell back below the cloud in October of last year, and it's been stuck there until maybe recently. On the weekly, it looks like it wants to break through that cloud again. And the cloud is a combination of a whole bunch of moving averages, but it's very exciting to see GameStop coming up and wanting to retest this cloud. No price target, just up. With GameStop's 0% bonds trading at 120%, they expect upside. With institutions piling in more than ever, they must expect upside. With Ryan Cohen, the CEO, recently buying 500,000 additional shares at an average price of $21.55 per share. This acquisition brought his total investment in GameStop to over $1.1 billion. The man's worth about $5 billion, $5.6 billion, so he has 20% of his net worth in GameStop. That is crazy conviction. And we're not just sitting around drawing squiggles on charts saying, oh, okay, it should go up next week because it's following this pattern. This is fundamental analysis, and it looks very bullish. If you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. And if we do want to see squiggles, before the sneeze, it was doing a little one of these actions. And now GameStop might be lining up to do the exact same thing. Especially if they buy Bitcoin and then Bitcoin follows the squiggles as well. Very exciting because with Trump in office, the whole market is bullish. I don't know if y'all saw this, but just a couple of days ago, Trump said this.
And if that happens on top of all of these trade deals that we're doing, this country will hit a point that you better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up.
He said this on May 8th of 2025. GameStop also has earnings 20 days from now. Back in March of 2018, an article from Reuters said GameStop tops revenue estimate on robust Nintendo Switch sales. Nothing's guaranteed, but the way I see it is the Nintendo Switch 2 sales are going to blow the Nintendo Switch 1 sales out of the water. And if you go to GameStop's website and scroll all the way to the bottom and find this C right here and click on it, shut up and take my money, am I right? People are now buying Steak and Shake in person with their Bitcoin. And for anybody who's curious, it seems like Palantir might be having a new spin-off company come out called Rivet. People mainly think this because Rivet, the company, is at the exact same address as Palantir Technologies. And Palantir executives are listed as Rivet directors. UnitedHealth insiders have been buying a ton of their own stock recently within this last week. The CEO himself bought about $25 million worth, but his yearly pay package with the company is about $61 million of shares. So a lot of people think this is just them trying to get retail to buy. And for anybody who doesn't know what's going on with UnitedHealth, they're the biggest insurance company in America. They sent free nurses to retirement home, which sounds generous, but those nurses weren't there to help out. They were there to collect data. They showed up looking at grandma and wrote down everything wrong with her. Even stuff from 10 years ago, that one time she was sad in 2004, yep, that's depression, knee pain from gardening, chronic joint disorder. Why would they be looking to diagnose people? Well, because under something called the Medicare Advantage, the sicker you are on paper, the more money the government pays UnitedHealth to take care of you. So yes, they exaggerate how grandma's doing to get more money from the government. The more problems they can find or say they found, the bigger the check from the government. That's called upcoding, and it's basically a cheat code to make billions from taxpayer dollars. And that's why the stock has been tanking. And mainstream media wonders why people pile into GameStop. It's really about calling out the corruption in our financial system. Thank you and God bless.